Hi, my name is Naazmi Johnston. I went to the 2008 Beijing Olympics and was the 2010 Commonwealth Games Champion in Delhi. So I first started because my older sister Shnez was doing Rhythmic gymnastics. All of us at one stage did it, so even my brother did MAG. So we're always in the gym, and eventually I just started joining in as well.
Did you like it when you started?
Yeah, I think I enjoyed running around the gym. I think it was a bit different once the coaches were kind of like, now stand here and do this, and I wasn't able to just run around and play. But I definitely still enjoyed training and that sense of achievement. I was talent ID'd pretty young with my older sister going to the Commonwealth Games. I guess people saw potential in me following her footsteps. So I was kind of in that elite pathway pretty early on, which meant lots of training. When I finally got to junior international, I kind of had my first competition and was like, oh, this is too much. It's too focused. So my coach just said, let's just take a step back. Let's go into the levels stream, have a bit more flexibility, enjoy your time in the sport a bit more, a bit less pressure. So I went and did that. And once I got to level 10, I won the national competition there and then moved back into senior international.
And do you think your mindset changed as soon as you kind of went back to levels?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, being in the international pathway, and being in levels just, allowed me to kind of relax a bit and enjoy the sport a bit more without that pressure of winning competitions.
I guess for lots of people, going to the elite stream is kind of this beautiful fantasy almost, like it's just, like, oh my gosh, elite, but it's not. Like, there are so many benefits of staying in the levels pathway until you're ready. So what would you think your advice would be to people who, I guess, stay in the levels program longer?
Yeah, I guess that's the thing, is that like any sport, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, then you're probably not going to have that self-motivation to kind of, being in the gym, you need to be in there for hours. So if you're not enjoying it, then it's so tough to really excel. So taking a step back and really like enjoying the sport, building friendships in the sport, having that kind of shift in focus allowed me to enjoy it more. And then when I was older and a bit more mature, I think be a bit more ready to kind of tackle that more high pressure side of the sport.
I think that the thing that the levels program allows you to do is like just love it without it being so high stakes.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is that levels is still very competitive. It's not like you go in there and you don't have to train hard and you don't have to focus. Like, it's still very competitive. But it just, I think, mentally takes that pressure off a little bit, going like, look, it's a bit less intense. Yeah, so it allowed me to kind of keep that high training without the pressure.
What would you think your advice would be to someone in level 10 who is gearing up to move into the senior elite stage?
I guess you don't know until you try either. I know my first nationals, I think I came 10th overall, and I was pretty happy with that. There were seniors that had been there for years. So, and then the next nationals, I can't remember the placing, but I know it was probably top 5. And then the next one kind of improved slowly. So it was a very gradual process.
Did you continue to have that high expectation of yourself, or did you kind of not care as much and just did it because you loved it?
I think it was a bit of both. I think, in the back of my mind, I always wanted to be the best in whatever I was doing. So I always trained hard and was very focused in that way. But at the same time, I think I wasn't mature enough to handle not being the best. So yeah, being in that pathway and kind of excelling in that pathway was really good for my confidence. And kind of when I did move into elite and, wasn't the best, I think I was prepared for that a little bit more than when I was younger and a bit more immature and, couldn't really process it. Yeah. I think it was probably 2 years in senior international, kind of the third year, maybe I started to get like a little bit more results, kind of get selected for world champs. That was kind of the start of it all.
So what was the journey to the Olympic Games like then? When did you start dreaming of that goal?
I guess I had to make the decision when my coaches, Edith and Dina, were moving to Queensland, they kind of put it to me to say, look, if you're really serious about this, then we think that you should move up with us and really focus on your training. And I guess that was really like a point where I had to think about what I wanted to do. And I kind of decided, I think I've got a bit more in me, so I'll make the move and really spend a couple of years focusing on it.
And when you found out you made it, what were you feeling?
Yeah, I was pretty excited. I mean, you kind of in the back of your mind, it's kind of the Olympics is the end goal, isn't it? But I don't think I ever imagined that I would be able to achieve that. I know competing in Australia always the second ranked gymnast, so I kind of didn't put that high expectation on myself, but in the back of my mind it was always the end goal there. So to finally achieve it and be selected, it kind of meant that all my sacrifice and hard work and hours in the gym and moving away from my family, it really, gave it value and gave it meaning, that it was all worth it.
So then when you got to the Beijing Olympics, what was the most vivid thing that you remember about it?
I think just being in the village there's nothing like it. It's so amazing getting your uniform and being in the atmosphere with all the athletes all around, being on the Australian team. I mean, that was pretty amazing. And then I guess like walking around the mat at the opening of the competition, holding the Australian flag, that was pretty special moment.
When you were in the levels program, did you dream that you would be at the Olympics one day?
Thinking back, I don't think that was my end goal. I think I just really enjoyed the sport and, wanted to persist with it and see where it took me.
And you came back, of course, to compete for the Delhi Games. I guess, what was that like?
Yeah, I guess after the Olympics, I kind of was a bit burnt out. Moving away, being away from everyone really took its toll after a couple of years. So I made the decision to kind of move back to Sydney. In doing that, I started training with Danny Leray, and that was like a whole new thing for me. I'd been with the same coaches right from the start. So being in a new program, even just fitness, I was like, oh my God, I'm so unfit. So it was nice to have a bit of a change, and that kind of, gave me a bit more motivation. At the 2006 Commonwealth Games, I placed 4th overall. So kind of, I made the big goal in my career to say, this is my goal. I want to come first in Delhi. So it was nice to kind of come back and have a very clear goal to train towards.
And your international ranking going into the Commonwealth Games was, again, in second position, just like at the Olympic Games position, you're second rank. I guess, how do you deal with that, having that goal just out of reach?
I think for me, it maybe takes the pressure off a little bit, kind of in the back of my mind going, I want to come first, but if I don't come first, I am second ranked. So, it's great if I do, but also if I don't, it makes sense. I don't deal very well with pressure. I know at the back of the Commonwealth Games, I was acting very serious, and Danny was like, what are you doing? Can you put that smile back on your face and just relax, because I don't know what you're going to do on the floor. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I need to just stop, take a step back and enjoy this a little bit more. And I think that was best advice that she could have given at that time. Yeah, really kind of centered me and went, look, it's not the end of the world. Whatever happens, happens. And yeah, relax and enjoy yourself. And that paid off. I think one thing, I wasn't really a very spectacular gymnast in the way that I wasn't like overly flexible. I think I could handle the apparatus okay, but I wasn't like, some other gymnast. I didn't really have that standout, but the one thing that I did have was consistency. When I was in the gym, I was like ready to just practice something 1,000 times until I could do it with my eyes closed, and having the confidence in the gym doing that, then transferring that onto the competition floor. I think, I knew within me that I could, nail these routines. I just had to be in the right mindset to do it. And I think it somehow paid off.
It's just crazy that even now you're so like self-deprecating. You feel like you're not an Olympian anymore, and then you're like, I wasn't that fantastic. And I'm like, only 2 people in the history of Australia have ever won the Commonwealth Games, and one was in 1994, Kasumi Takahashi, and then one was in 2010, and it just happens to be Naazmi Johnston. Like, it's not luck. These things don't just I guess, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, You started the sport really young and showed lots of promise and potential. And then I guess moving up into that junior stage 4 kind of age, it's so hard, that pressure. And then you went back into the Olympic program and rekindled your love for the sport. That in itself must have been so motivating. And then you come 4th at the Commonwealth Games in 2006. Then that's motivating then to go, okay, like 2 more years and I want to get to the Olympic Games. Then 2 more years. Like, it feels like everything had its own motivation. What do you think was the most important character asset of yours that got you through it all?
I think just persistence, really, and also not taking it too seriously. Each time I kind of got a little bit more, it kind of gave me that motivation, but at the same time I was pretty easy on myself and kind of, I'm a very like just go with the flow person and see what happens, but at the same time a very hard worker, so put in the time in the gym and just see where it takes me, and I didn't have too many expectations on myself, and yeah, I guess I just went with the flow, and yeah, each time just did a little bit better, and that kind of was enough to keep me going.
There are athletes all over the world who feel that anything less than a podium place is failure. What do you say to those people?
I guess my thing is that, you've really got to enjoy what you do. You can make sure that you enjoy it, and you can work hard, and you can do a routine where you don't drop anything. And that was like a big sense of achievement for me. So
when you realised you were going to win the all-round gold at the Commonwealth Games, how did that feel?
Yeah, that was a pretty amazing feeling. It was even more interesting because I was the last competitor of the whole competition. So kind of every round I could see where I was ranked, which was different because I never liked looking at my scores at all. So having to sit there with a camera on your face, watching your reaction every time you see your score and your placing, just puts that little bit of extra pressure on. So sitting there and seeing it flash up that I'd come first overall, I was like celebrating so much, and Danny was like, wait, you don't know, maybe it's wrong. So I was like there going, oh my god, I did it. Yeah, it was a pretty exciting moment.
And then going up to the podium and hearing the national anthem play, I mean, was that the first time that would have happened for you?
Yeah, that was definitely the first time, and it kind of added some extra nerves because I knew the camera was on my face, and I was like, I've got to get the words right. I don't think I did, but yeah, a lot was going through my mind at that stage. Yeah, but a pretty special moment still.
You got married not long ago, and then you have a beautiful baby boy, Rocco. If he wanted to follow in your Olympic footsteps, what would your single piece of advice be?
I guess just persistence, and if it's really something that you enjoy and something that's your dream, then it's going to take a lot of hard work, and when you hate it and nothing's working, you've got to push through that. At the end of it, usually you get that little bit better, or you get that little bit of a reward, and kind of keeps you going.